People always ask me why I didn't call the police sooner. The truth is, at first, I thought I was losing my mind. It started with a voice. Every night, just after midnight, I'd hear someone whisper my name outside my bedroom window. Not loudly. Just enough that I could barely make it out. Emily. The first night, I looked outside immediately. Nothing. No one. Just an empty street lit by a single street lamp. I convinced myself it had been the TV from another apartment. Then the next night, it happened again. The exact same whisper and my name. Always once. Always around midnight. I stopped sleeping with my window open, but somehow I could still hear it. Every single night. After a week, I was exhausted. My coworkers noticed. "You look terrible." I laughed it off. I wasn't about to tell them I thought someone was whispering outside my apartment every night. One Friday, I stayed at my sister's house. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Just before midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then a message appeared. "You're not home tonight." My heart stopped. I hadn't posted anything online. I hadn't told anyone except my sister. I blocked the number. A minute later. Another message from a different number. "Did I scare you?" I barely slept. The next morning, I drove back to my apartment. Nothing looked out of place. The door was still locked. No broken windows. No signs anyone had been there, until I unlocked the door. There was a single white flower lying in the middle of my living room floor. I froze. No one else had a key. At least. That's what I believed. The police checked for forced entry. There wasn't any. One officer asked if I'd ever lost a spare key. I remembered something. Almost 8 months earlier, I'd hired someone online to clean my apartment while I was recovering from surgery. They'd borrowed my spare key for a day. According to the company, it had been returned. Or so I thought. The officers suggested changing every lock immediately, so I did. That night, for the first time in weeks. Silence. I finally slept and I thought it was over. I was wrong. 3 days later, I parked outside work and noticed something tucked beneath my windshield wiper. Not a note but a photograph. It was me, standing at a gas station the day before. Taken from across the street. Someone had been watching me. Not just my apartment but everywhere. Someone had built their life around mine. The police opened a full investigation. They asked me to continue my normal routine while they increased patrols around my apartment. I hated the idea. Every trip to the grocery store felt dangerous. Every stranger made me nervous. A week later, just after midnight, the whisper returned. "Emily." Only this time. I wasn't alone. 2 officers were waiting quietly inside my apartment. The whisper came again. Closer. One officer motioned for me to stay back while the other rushed outside. Seconds later, someone started running. I heard shouting. Then the sound of a struggle. When the officers came back inside, they had a man in handcuffs. He wasn't a stranger. Not completely. He had been the maintenance worker for my apartment complex almost a year earlier. He'd entered dozens of apartments for repairs and he remembered names, schedules, and who lived alone. After leaving the job, he became obsessed with me. Police later searched his storage unit. They found hundreds of photographs, maps of my neighborhood and notes describing my daily routine. Even copies of old social media pictures I'd deleted months before. The flower. The whispers. The text messages. The photo on my windshield. It had all been him. He eventually pleaded guilty to stalking, unlawful entry, harassment, and several related charges. I moved shortly after the trial. Not because I was afraid he'd come back but because I wanted to stop looking over my shoulder every time I walked to my car. It's been 4 years now. Sometimes, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I still think I hear someone whisper my name. But then I remind myself. The only voice outside my window now is the wind.
The first package arrived on a Monday. There was no return address and no shipping label. Just my name, written in neat black handwriting. I assumed one of my friends had dropped off a gift. Inside was a small box of my favorite tea. Nothing else. No note and no explanation. It was strange, but not creepy. Not yet. 2 days later, another package appeared on my front porch. Again. This time, it contained a brand new phone charger. Mine had stopped working the night before. I hadn't mentioned it online. The only person who knew was my coworker because I'd borrowed her charger during lunch. I remember staring at the box for several minutes. Coincidence, I told myself. It had to be. Then the third package arrived. Inside was a paperback novel I'd been looking at in a bookstore earlier that afternoon. I never bought it. I only picked it up, read the back cover, and put it back on the shelf. No one had been with me. Or at least, I didn't think anyone had been. For the first time, I felt genuinely uneasy. A small folded note was taped to the inside of the lid. It read, "I knew you'd like that one." I stopped opening the packages. Instead, I stacked them in my hallway. Over the next 2 weeks, more packages arrived. A bag of my favorite candy. The exact brand of coffee I always ordered. A pair of gloves. A flashlight. Every item was something I'd either talked about or quietly thought I needed. The notes became more personal. You should get more sleep. Blue looks better on you than black. You forgot to water the plant by the kitchen window. That last one made my blood run cold because the plant wasn't visible from the street. Someone would have needed to look through my kitchen window, or be much closer than that. I called the police. The responding officer was sympathetic, but there were no fingerprints on the boxes. No shipping information and no security cameras on my street. Nothing to identify whoever was leaving them. His advice was simple. Install cameras. The very next day, I bought a video doorbell and 2 outdoor security cameras. I felt relieved. Whoever this person was, they'd finally make a mistake. 3 nights passed. Nothing. Then, on the 4th morning, another package. I rushed to check the footage. Nobody. No one had walked onto my porch. No one. I replayed the video 3 times. The package simply appeared. I actually felt sick. I knew that wasn't possible. There had to be an explanation. That afternoon, I climbed onto a chair to adjust the front camera. That's when I noticed something tucked beneath the wooden railing of my porch. A tiny black object. About the size of my thumb. It wasn't part of the house. I pulled it loose. It was a hidden wireless camera, pointed directly at my living room window. Someone had been watching my house, from my own porch. The police took the device for forensic testing. It had been transmitting live video to a nearby receiver. Whoever planted it had probably been sitting somewhere close enough to stay connected. Suddenly, everything made sense. The comments, the gifts, the notes. They weren't guesses. Someone had been watching my daily life unfold in real time. The detectives asked my neighbors if they'd noticed anything unusual. One elderly man who lived across the street remembered seeing the same white cargo van parked nearby almost every evening. He'd assumed it belonged to a contractor. Police checked traffic cameras around the neighborhood. The van appeared almost every night, always arriving around dusk, always leaving before midnight. A week later, officers spotted it again. Instead of approaching immediately, they watched. The driver never got out. He just sat there, looking toward my house, using a laptop. When police searched the van, they found a portable monitor connected to a wireless receiver. The hidden camera from my porch had been sending video directly to it. But that wasn't the worst part. Inside several storage bins were dozens of unopened packages. Each one had my name on it. Some contained clothes I'd tried on but never bought. Others contained groceries I'd picked up only once. There was even a framed photo of my dog, taken while we were playing in my fenced backyard. The man had been documenting my life for nearly 6 months. He had notebooks filled with my routines. when I left for work, when I came home, which lights I turned on first, when I usually went to bed. Police later discovered he'd become obsessed after seeing me regularly at a local park. Instead of introducing himself, he convinced himself that secretly learning everything about me somehow created a relationship. It didn't. It created a nightmare. The case finally came to an end months later. He was charged with stalking, unlawful surveillance, harassment, and several other offenses. I still receive packages. Whenever I see a box waiting on my porch that I wasn't expecting, I don't open it right away. First, I check who sent it.
For more true stories based on real events, subscribe, like and join us for the next case where the truth proved far stranger and far darker than anyone imagined.